also there will be a nice, pretty little daily vlog with Grace coming soon, so do not fret if that is what you're here for. But I need your help, as per usual. So, VidCon is coming up, and I'm going to the gym in just a moment. And I'm going to do some prep work for a panel that I'm moderating, and I'm really excited about it because it's a panel about, it's called There's a Troll in the Dungeon. And it's cool because I definitely have my fair share of experience with trolls. But I'm wondering if you're going to VidCon, and if you're not going to VidCon, it doesn't really matter. But if you hypothetically were to watch this panel about dealing with internet hate and criticism and harassment, and it can be, it's just dealing with negative experiences on the internet, and the spectrum of those experiences can range anywhere from like kind of harsh constructive criticism to like totally inappropriate violent hate speech, meow meow meow, you know, because we're going to kind of be talking about all of it. So if you have a question about any one of these topics along the spectrum, it is valid. So I was wondering what you would like to hear that panel talk about. I think Dillon is on the panel. I am on the panel. There's somebody in the beauty guru community on the panel. Who else is on the panel? Oh, Miles J is on the panel, I believe. And then there's someone else, and I'm not forgetting them because I'm a derpy derp. Is Trevor Moran on the panel? I don't know. But what kind of, and I'm the moderator, so I get to pick the questions that we ask and the topics that we talk about. And I don't want it to be like, okay, sometimes VidCon gets a little old, right? Because they have the same panels a lot over and over and over, which is fine because a lot of these topics are timeless. And the reason they exist over and over and over, repetitively and redundantly, is because they're important and because there's a lot of new people at VidCon every year. But for the veterans of VidCon, or for the people who have already participated in these discussions with their friends online or their friends in real life or whatever, sometimes it can be like, okay, we covered that. Like, all right, I get it. So I'll probably hit some of the basic questions, like some of the easy standard questions, like, you know, tell me about a time that you experienced, like one of the hardest times you experienced hate and how did you handle it? Something like that, you know, a question that you've heard before. But I also, I definitely don't want the whole panel, or even a majority of the panel, to be like that. I want the panel to ask some really like hard-hitting stuff. I want to ask the creators, I think, if they actually know, if like, are you aware of YouTube's like policies, guidelines, and safeguards against hate speech? Like, let's go over that. Let's like figure out what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. Also, I want to encourage the panelists to answer really honestly and use specifics and examples, and not give like trite, tired, like answers that are like, everyone has haters, just like, just don't listen to them and be yourself, because like we've heard that, and sometimes that's not like, that's all well and true and good, but eventually that stops helping. Eventually it's like, okay, I know that I shouldn't listen to the haters, I know they have nothing to offer, but they keep talking to me and they keep getting under my skin. Can you give me something that's not just fluffy, like, self-help garbagey mantra? Can you actually can you help me put a tool in my arsenal that's helpful? And I want to get kind of current and talk a little bit about, like, we might get, I don't know, I'm going to be careful about this. We might talk about, like, the, I want to talk about reactionary culture. That the reactionary culture that exists on YouTube now, and YouTube drama, and how like some people have just created careers built on dragging people and exposing people and like and things like that. That is like new-ish on YouTube. It might not, well, that might not be true. It might not be new at all, but it's definitely garnered like a lot of energy recently. It's been more buzzy. It's been happening more. So that, I think if we talked about that a little bit, about how like, you know, drama channels and people's careers just being like destroyed because of one tweet they said, or like how careful we have to be online, and like kind of a little bit about call out culture and all of these things. And I think that would be like a new subject to talk about. But otherwise, what do you want? It's a panel, and you know what's sad about the panel? It's sad about the panel because they didn't actually. I need to do more research. I could be wrong. I feel like they could have chosen panelists that receive way more hate to be on this panel. There are panelists who receive so much unwarranted hate that could actually have something super interesting and valid to say about this. And I'm not saying that the panelists on the panel aren't good. They're like wonderful people. It's like all well and fine that they're on the panel. But in addition to the panelists that they've chosen, it would have been cool if they plucked like one or two other people who like actually get horrible amounts of hate for no reason. And I can think, I'm just going to be honest, VidCon this year really didn't ask creators a ton about, like, I'm moderating the panel and I didn't even get an input in who should be on it. Like, if you think that I'm qualified enough in this subject to moderate it, don't you think it would also be worth my time to ask who should be on the panel? Not that you have to listen to me. Like, my tune would be totally changed or my tune would be totally different if they would have asked me, like, who should be on this panel, Ash? And then I would have been like, this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. And they would have been like, interesting, but nah. At least I would have felt like they asked me. Instead, I felt like they picked some really popular YouTubers. Like, I know Ricky Dillon probably gets tons of hate, but for the most part, he's a pretty well-received guy. Like, do a ton of people have beef with Ricky Dillon? I could be ignorant. Maybe, like, I don't know. I haven't visited his comment section in a while, and I know that there's something to be said about the fact that Ricky is so huge, and when you're just so huge, proportionally, even if the amount of hate you get is, like, proportionally small, because your proportion is so fucking massive in the end of the day, even that small amount of hate is huge. Like, I would say, because of the things he talks about, I don't know. I don't want to, I feel presumptuous, condescendingly speculating about how much hate Ricky Dillon gets. And I acknowledge that my perspective, I could just be wrong. Maybe I am ignorant and unaware to all the hate that Ricky Dillon may or may not get. But I feel like, off the top of my head, I can name 10 creators who receive more hate than Ricky. So, that being said, though, I'm actually really excited that Ricky's on the panel because I want to talk about some ace things and if people ever, like, invalidate his asexual identity at all. So, please don't think that I, like, just don't want Ricky Dillon to be on this panel because that's not the case at all. I do want Ricky Dillon to be in the panel. The only reason I'm using his name is because I feel like he's well-known and he's one of the only people I know for sure is on the panel. Miles J, I know, receives a lot of hate. See, like, that one makes sense to me. Like, I know that Miles receives a lot of hate because of, like, you know, the marginalized parts of their identity. And I know that Ricky definitely also has some marginalized parts of his identity that he receives hate for, and also he probably has to deal with, like, I know sometimes his speech gets picked on, which is, like, isn't fair. Here, I'll just, like, explicitly say, like, no, I don't want to use anyone's name besides the panelists. I wish I could be like, so for instance, this person I know receives more hate than Ricky. But I don't want to say this person because I don't want to put, like, I don't know. Anyway, this got weird. Just basically, what would you like me to talk about on this panel? Because I want to make it, like, a worthwhile discussion, and I want to ask some really hard-hitting questions. So no question is off limits below. If you think your question is weird or doesn't quite relate, just throw it down there. We're in brainstorming mode right now. Nothing is bad. Also, I'm very happy Ricky Dillon is on this panel. I feel like I talked about him way too much and now it seems like I don't want him to be on the panel, but that's not the case at all. I really do. I want to look up who's actually on the panel now. Boop-a-doo, boop, 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 boop. You're gonna wait while I do it. Oh, I literally, at 9:38, I just got an email about this. Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Miles J, Ricky, Kandee Johnson, Family Fun Pack. Who's Family Fun Pack? Kandee Johnson. So I'm not familiar. I will be honest. I'm not familiar with Kandee Johnson because I believe she is in the beauty guru community, and that's just such a huge community. I only know a handful of those creators. Here, Family Fun Pack. Who are you? Wow, you have. Ooh, this could be interesting. So they're like a family. I'm familiar with these guys too. So this is like a family vlogging channel. Neato, Bandito. Yeah, so this could be interesting because it can be hard to listen to, like, people hating on your children. Like, that, I imagine, would be really hard. If anybody said anything about my kid, oh, like, my mama bear instincts would kick in, and I would be like, watch it. And then I imagine, like, Katie probably has, am I saying their name right? Probably not. Go back. vidcon panel. Kandee, not Katie. Kandee. Ooh. When I go to the gym, I'm going to be binging videos from the creators that I have not, that I'm not familiar with, because I think it would be, like, bad to be a moderator and not be familiar with the creators. See, I imagine that Katie, so to give you some perspective, so there's Ricky, who, like, we all know, he's, like, from, you know, he's very, like, pop YouTube, challengey stuff. He just kind of came out as ace, like, low-key ace, a while ago. Then there's Miles, who's, like, gender non-conforming, and then there's Family Fun Pack, which is just family, like, daily vloggers, and then there's Kandee Johnson, who looks like she does a lot of beauty stuff, which I imagine, and I've actually already seen that video, I imagine one of the things about being a beauty guru would be really hard is people are constantly, like, picking apart your appearance and probably judging you about being, like, superficial and materialistic when that could be, like, the furthest from the case. Also, like, Kandee's branding is all about makeup, and then there's, like, a few thumbnails I see where she shows her bare face, which could be kind of, like, vulnerable and scary, and then if, like, somebody chooses to take advantage of that vulnerable moment and pick you apart, that would probably feel shitty. So if that can give you, like, and the reason I'm telling you the panelists is because that may maybe help you, like, develop your questions more. So if you have any questions for beauty vloggers, for family vloggers, for LGBT vloggers, for, like, just fun, challenging vlogger people, about there being a troll in the dungeon, what would you want to talk about? No question is off limits, but all your questions below. I am interested. Thank you. Bye.